Cromer is a town on the north coast of the English county of Norfolk, with a population of over 7,000. Tourism developed here during Victorian times and is now an important part of the local economy. Most of this film shows Cromer in February. It's a peaceful time with the crowds yet to arrive and plenty of space to wander around and take in the sea air. Cromer Pier is a well-known landmark here. There are records of a pier in Cromer as far back as 1391, although then it was more of a jetty. For a period of time Cromer was without a pier, but in 1901 the new pier was completed and opened to the public. The new pier was 140 metres long and cost £17,000 to build. Originally the end of the pier was occupied by a bandstand. The end of the pier now houses the Pavilion Theatre, and a lifeboat station has been added. Cromer Pier is home to the last end-of-pier show in Europe. The charm of the pier is maintained by an absence of amusement arcades and advertising hoardings. The pier and the town were used as a location for the 2013 film Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa. Traditionally, Cromer was a fishing town, and about 10 boats plied their trade from the foot of the gangway on the East Beach. Fishing is now focused on crabs and lobsters. Cromer crabs are famous, and each May the Cromer and Sheringham Crab and Lobster Festival promotes the local fishing community. If you fancy a tasty seaside treat, Cromer has some excellent fish and chips restaurants that are well worth visiting. At number 1, you can tuck into a hearty meal while enjoying a fabulous view over the sea and the pier. Mary Jane's, tucked away behind the seafront, also has an excellent reputation for fresh fish served in the traditional batter and is well worth a visit. If the sea air has given you an appetite, you could also head for one of the pubs or cafes close to the seafront. The Red Lion has great views out over the North Sea, as well as hearty pub food and a range of real ales. In the 18th century, Cromer was little more than a small village gathered around a large, poorly maintained church. Today, most of the older buildings in Cromer date from the late 18th century up to the early 20th century, a period of significant growth for the town. This growth was stimulated by the late Georgian belief in the medicinal benefits of sea bathing, and later by the arrival of the railway in 1877. The Church of St. Peter and St. Paul dates from the 14th century and dominates the town. Much of the eastern end of the church collapsed in the 17th century, and serious consideration was given in the 1780s to demolishing the whole thing. It wasn't until the Anglican revival of the second half of the 19th century that attention was paid to restoring the church to full use under the direction of architect Arthur Blomfield. He restored the tower and the porch, refashioned the window tracery, and rebuilt the chancel, which is shorter than its predecessor. The bell tower is the highest in the county. It is constructed mainly of knapped flint, and the top of its pinnacles are almost 49 metres above the ground. The grounds of the church also contain Cromer's War Memorial. Since the church was restored in the Victorian era, much of what you can see in the building is 19th century. There is a great lofty nave which is filled with light from vast windows. The shortened chancel makes the stained glass of the east window rather imposing. Blomfield apparently based its proportions and tracery on what was there before, but of course it had previously been set further to the east. There used to be another church in Shipton, north of Cromer. It was lost to the sea by about 1400 and now lies about 500 metres beyond the end of the pier. Today the waves are relatively calm and pleasant to watch, but in severe weather the North Sea can pack ferocious power, endangering the coast and its communities. The cliffs around Cromer are soft and erode quickly, especially during storms. Rockfalls are common along this coast and make the cliff edge dangerous. Banded sand and chalk are easy to spot in the cliffs to the west of Cromer, and embedded flint and fossils are common. You may also see the remains of buildings in the sand. This World War II defensive pillbox was once set on a shelf near the base of the cliffs. Cromer Beach hosts rows of iconic coloured beach huts which are available to rent annually or buy from the local council. Many of these were damaged or destroyed in the storms of 2013 and 2017, but the huts remain popular, and in previous years there has been a long waiting list to obtain one. The pier was also damaged during storm surges in 2013 and 2017 and was successfully repaired. The storm of December 2013 caused considerable damage, closing the pier and the theatre. However, the iron structure supporting the pier is strong. This early 20th century pier was the work of London engineering firm Douglas and Arnott. Earlier timber attempts did not withstand the heavy onslaught of the sea. At low tide, the gently corroding iron structure reveals itself, and it is possible to explore the intricate maze of struts, supports and girders. In the 1920s, a lifeboat station was built at the end of the pier, enabling a motor lifeboat to be launched beyond the breakers. Today, the offshore lifeboat on the pier performs about a dozen rescues a year, with about the same number for the inshore lifeboat stationed on the beach. Flags of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution fly proudly here, and the Henry Blogg Museum celebrates the most decorated lifeboat man in RNLI history, who served for 53 years on Cromer's lifeboats. There are a lot of wooden groins here sticking into the sea at right angles to the shore. Groins can also be constructed out of concrete or stone. They form a physical barrier to stop the sand being washed away and maintain a wide area of beach or sediment on their updrift side. Groins are generally placed in groups. They are often used in tandem with sea walls. You can also see wooden revetments along the shore to the west of Cromer. These reduce erosion by disrupting the force of the waves crashing against the shore. As the tide recedes, these structures are uncovered along with the marine life that makes its home on them. A close look reveals various species of seaweed as well as barnacles. You'll also see weathered and rusting metal bolts. In fact, metal rusts more quickly here at the seaside, and this boat-pulling tractor parked on the beach has suffered serious corrosion from the salt water in the air, despite its protective paintwork. You'll see a lot of birds on a trip to Cromer, and the black-headed gull is a common sight. In fact, for much of the year, including winter, these gulls have a white head with dark markings. They are also found inland, so they are not seagulls. Black-headed gulls are sociable, quarrelsome, noisy birds usually seen in small groups or flocks, especially where there is plenty of food. They can be seen year-round and like to eat insects, fish and carrion. There are over 2 million of these birds in the UK, including 140,000 breeding pairs, so even if you visit Cromer in the winter, you won't be on your own.